I have unlocked the secret power of shapes. I am a big lover of the Poofy sleeve, if you couldn't tell. I have figured out the perfect way to make any random, boring, button-down shirt into one that has maximum poofage, wizardly magics, and just all-around swag. And we're gonna do it using shapes, because all sewing really is taking shapes and attaching them so they become objects. It all started about a year ago when I made this lovely sweater shirt dress thing. This is flannel. It's supposed to be a shirt. It's a Vogue shirt pattern, V9229. And what's really interesting about this is the sleeve is in 2 parts. And I love this thing. It is so comfy, it is so swooshy, and I was thinking about the pattern for this the other day, and I realized that the pattern piece for the poofy part of this sleeve looks like this. It's literally just a rectangle. It made me realize something. Oh, hello. Well, not that, but Piper has important things to say. Let's hear her out. Something to say for the audience, my love? Yes, okay. And it made me realize you could put a rectangle in any sleeve you want. Instant poofy wizard sleeve. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna take a white, boring button down. We're gonna give it the renovation it deserves to make me feel like the wizard professor I know I am in my heart. Because frankly, I cannot stand white button downs. I really can't. If I'm going to wear it, it needs to be worth the time it took to button it, and it needs to be worth the time it's gonna take to make it fit my body. Here's what we're working with. Here's what we're gonna do. Step 1, poofify the sleeves, add a contrast collar. I think this is going to elevate it, make it fantastic and interesting to look at. Also, just fun, just more fun, more colorful, good, generally speaking. We love a sleeve. Oh, look at that poof. Just maximum poofage. Step 2, change out the buttons. They're gross and weird and I don't like them. 3, widen the slit at the hip. This does not fit me at the hip like at all. If we fix this, we fix many of our problems. And it gives that fun wizardy robe look that I oh so love. 4, snaps. We're gonna add snaps wherever there is gapage, because frankly, I am not at a level of fit ability that I'm going to do a full bust adjustment, especially on a garment that already exists. That is for people with drafting skills I do not have yet. While I have unlocked the power of shapes, I'm very bad at geometry. So let's do it. Let's turn this bland, blah garment into a wizardly delight. For this flip, I used the collar and lower sleeve from the Vogue 9299 pattern, but if you don't have it, it's pretty easy to make the sleeves yourself. To draft your wizard sleeve, if you don't want to buy the pattern, measure the length of your arm starting just under your armpit. That'll be the short side of your rectangle. The long side should be about 1.5-ish times that. If you're not super sure of your pattern, remember, the longer the long side, the more voluminous it'll be. The shorter, the more skimpy it'll be. But I mean, none of this is life and death. You can futz around and find out. Other ingredients include a shirt you're willing to chop the sleeves off of, snaps, marking chalk, a seam ripper, also known as the real MVP today, and of course, fabric for your sleeve poofs. As with most sewing, I pinned down my pattern pieces and cut out my fabric. I cut light interfacing for the collar to help it sit right, too. Okay, I just noticed while I was cutting this together, what is this cutting stance? What are the choices I'm making here? I don't understand. Is she okay? we have this marked off, I'm going to just cut this, then use that detached sleeve to try and get some symmetricality on the left, because I am left-handed and it won't be symmetrical if I try it any other way. Huge brain move here. I tried to line up the cut sleeve with the still attached sleeve by wearing them both together. Eventually I just gave up and pinned them at points that I could line up like cuffs and seams. You know, like a person who uses logic on a regular basis. I basted the top and bottom, then sewed about 3/4 of the way down the poof. I flat felled the seam and folded the edges of each of the loose sides back so I could just sew down them to finish it off. Once the cuffs were free and open, I gathered the poof, stuffed them into cuffs, and top-stitched it all together. Note to self, always check what side of the interfacing your glue is on before you press it down. Once I finally got the interfacing melded to the correct fabric, I pinned and sewed my collar. Shout out to the seam ripper for this one. Truly the star of the show today. This is how not to sew your puff to your sleeve. See how the good side of my fabric is facing out? That means I'm currently sewing the back side of my fabric to the right side of my shirt. When you're sewing a tube and you want the right sides together, the inner layer should have the good side facing out, and the outer layer should have the good side facing in. It'll look a little more like this. Welcome to this casual post-dinner chat. So far, I'm almost there, and it's turning out about how I expected, which I love. I did make the fatal mistake of sewing the entire sleeve on inside out, which did not follow the plan, necessarily. But, you know, these things happen. That's the beauty of a seam ripper. You can unpick and start again. So all I've got left is to sew that other sleeve on correctly and switch out the buttons and do the snaps. I'm not going to worry about the hips. I figure I'm probably going to tuck this bad boy in more of the time anyway. We'll just leave it at that for now, and I think that'll get us the look we are looking for. My apartment is covered in loose threads because of all the seam ripping I've done today. So much seam ripping because I've had to take apart a commercial garment and understand their choices when they made that garment. They've made some really weird choices, but that's because they are professionals. And I'm not. I'm melting. Okay, back to it, I guess. far, one of the weirdest things about sewing to me is that you need a pair of pliers to get buttons off of their cards. Most of my vintage button collection has a full tetanus incarnate holding the buttons hostage. How does that metal even get that rusty in the first place?
Floor update. So last night I was real tired and I was like, excuse me? No, can you not? So last night I was like, I'm tired. I wanted this to be a one-day project. I just won't adjust the hips. But here's the thing. Yes, sometimes it's absolutely great to half-ass something. But with my clothes, I want them to generally be like wearable and keepable. If I flip a thrift, I want to keep said flip. I have marked off where I do indeed want to cut to make room for the hips. French seamed, and I really just don't want to deal with that, so I'm just going to cut and roll with it. Seam ripper be damned, sometimes you kind of just gotta futz with it and make it work. So I'm going to do that right now, real quick. Okay, love you, bye.
The edges, I just turned the newly cut vents in twice and sewed. I gave the place where the vents met a few zigzag stitches to secure them in place and finish off that very top of the vent. To finish this bad boy off, I hand sewed a few gathers that didn't quite make it into the cuff. It happens. I futzed around. I found out. Alright, you ready to see how it went? So what do you think? I am obsessed with these sleeves. While this is gonna go in my regular old closet, I feel like this is a great way to take off-the-rack clothes and make them cosplay or LARP ready. Got rectangles? Bam! Instant wizardly flair. Now go and harness the power of shapes to your own end. Or you can stick around and watch me become Daphne from Scooby-Doo if you want.
Hi, I'm Grace and you're watching the Disney Channel.
Oh, hold on. Oh wow, this is actually really hard. Hi, I'm Grace and you're watching the Disney Channel. Bam, 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 bam.